Welcome to an agony aunt video. Disclaimer, I'm 19. I don't really have any authority or reason to be giving you advice on anything. All you're getting here is another person's perspective. We're just having some fun. Take everything I say with a pinch of salt. And yep, here we go. How the hell do I not procrastinate? I'm actually supposed to be doing English homework now. The hardest part of doing anything is just starting. You only really need the amount of focus and motivation it will take you to sit down with like the homework in front of you. So take this as your motivation, stop watching the video, go do your homework immediately. How do you get the courage to change? This is an odd question to me because the idea of staying the same forever is what scares me. So I guess it's about learning to understand the value of change because that makes it not scary. If you don't change, you can't improve. So that's my take on that. How to keep creating content when what you do make doesn't get any attention / feedback, but takes a lot of time and effort to make. It's very easy to just be like, oh, you should just make it feel self, don't rely on external validation, but like, it's easier said than done. I guess just make sure that you are really proud of what you're making, and if you need validation, then like show it to people. Self-promotion gets sort of like hated on. I think there is a time and a place for it. There are places where it's appropriate to be like, hey, I made this, please look at it. So if you're in need of external validation, then like go get some. I don't know. Is there such a thing as planning too much for the future? I think so. People change all the time. I remember 2 years ago thinking that I was going to take a gap year, and if my YouTube channel did well in my gap year, I was going to not go to uni and do YouTube full time. That was my plan. But now that sounds like the worst thing in the world to me, and I don't want to do that at all because I've changed as a person and I couldn't plan for that 2 years ago, you know? So there's nothing wrong with having a plan as long as you're willing to be flexible on it, I think. How do I cope with the realization that life is meaningless and we're all gonna die anonymously, lol? How do I keep motivated, mate? First of all, just try and stop thinking about it. I used to like panic about that on a regular basis, but now it just kind of doesn't cross my mind because I realized that worrying about it doesn't change it. So I don't want to waste my one life on this earth worrying about the fact that I only have one life. That's a waste. And also, I think it's kind of comforting that nothing we do means anything. I could spend all day in bed if I wanted to, and in the long run, it doesn't mean anything. The universe doesn't care. You can make all the mistakes you want and do whatever, and it doesn't matter. It's equal parts liberating and depressing, so you've just got to repress this and focus on this. How to get closer with people. I have a friend group but feel disliked by most of them, but I'm bad at making new friends. I'm reading this book at the moment. I still haven't finished it. I really should have finished it by now. Anyway, it's called Mistakes Were Made But Not By Me by Carol Tavris and Elliot Aronson. And there's a story in it about a guy. It's a true story, obviously they didn't just like make it. It's a book about psychology, it's not gonna be a fake story. This guy knew that someone in his class didn't like him, so to get him to like him, he asked him for a favor. And then from then on, they got on really well. Essentially, you can trick people into liking you by using cognitive dissonance. I wonder if I can find it actually, because they'll explain it in the book better than I will. Their cognition that they went out of their way to do a favor for this person is dissonant with any negative feelings they may have had about him. In effect, after doing the favour, they asked themselves, why would I do something nice for a jerk? Therefore, he's not as big of a jerk as I thought he was. Essentially, people don't like the idea that they would do something stupid. Doing something nice for someone that they don't like doesn't really, like, fit properly in their head. One of the things has to change. Either they decide that they like this person or they decide that they didn't do something nice for them, and this would require, like, memory loss, so they just end up deciding that they like you. I don't know how much that can really be applied to real life. You can try it, I think, as long as it's not like a really demanding favour that's gonna make them annoyed at you. I think it's worth a go. Psychology. How do you communicate to your parents that something may be wrong with your mental health? I don't know how to tell them something's wrong without them brushing it off. Don't worry about them brushing it off until they do it. I say until, I mean, I can't think of a conditional version of that. Don't worry about it unless they do it. That's what I meant. Because you just don't know. I think just sit them down and tell them. Do you have any advice / words to give to someone whose best friend is currently treating them like shit, but at the same time turns around and says, I miss you, I want to see you again, I'm sorry, etc. I don't know what to do. I want to trust her because she's my best friend, but maybe she just needs time. But is it low-key emotional manipulation. Lol. Some people are actually busy. I keep seeing everywhere the sentiment of like, if this person isn't clearing their schedule to talk to you, then bin them. But like, some people have completely different priorities than you do. Like, some people care more about their work than they do about their personal relationships, but that, like, you know, it's good to be understanding of that. But I've had a situation very similar to this, and in the end it turned out that like I should not be friends with that person at all, and it took me a really long time to distance myself from them. Talk to them about it, tell them that it's upsetting you, and if nothing changes, then I think just kind of like demote them in your head from best friend status to regular friend status, because you clearly care about this person, but you also clearly don't trust them, because you said, I want to trust her, which means you don't. And I think that's a really hard thing to bounce back from, and you seem to feel manipulated. And regardless of whether or not that was their intention, they're not making you feel good or valued. So I think just quietly within yourself, lower your expectations from this person and try and focus on other people. You don't need to like cut them off or anything, just like, I don't know if I explained that very well at all. I think I'm gonna leave it there because I've been filming for quite a while, and you know, that's enough, innit? I don't know if I'm gonna do this again, but you know, if you have other things that you want me to advise on, then leave it in the comments. I don't know why people come to me for advice like quite a bit on Tumblr, and I'm not sure why, but people seem to like it. So if it's something you want, then sure. But also, like I said, bear in mind, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just a person. All you're getting is another person's perspective, and that person is a 19-year-old. Take my advice at your own risk. It doesn't mean you have to like cut them off.